Good day, Rolf Waldring. Welcome to the 80-20 model of soft skill utilization. This short program will provide you with the insights you need as an existing manager or an inspiring manager to understand how the people who work for you and the people they work with accomplish what they accomplish using the soft skills they have. At the same time, it will give you insight into how you as a manager need a more broad-ranging set of soft skills in order to effectively lead the people that you lead as they accomplish the work they do in your organization. We all know from our own lives and from the many examples we see in sports that skills range from the everyday to the master. And it doesn't take much insight into the Olympics or any of the professional sport leagues to understand the huge gap between the everyday and that exhibited by top-of-the-line professionals. In the same way, we can understand that the workplace has many situations in which everyone is well-intentioned, attempting to achieve the objectives of the group or the organization, and the level of stress that's being experienced is normal. There are a few situations in the workplace which occur at the extreme level because one or more of the individuals is not well-intentioned or aligned with the organizational objectives, or because the level of stress in the situation is so high that it's difficult for people to collaborate in an everyday way. When we put these two together, we begin to see that it's probably the case that less than 20% of the skills are required to deal with more than 80% of the workplace situations. And it's now very clear that different workplace situations require different levels of skills. In the same way that people working at different levels in the organization's hierarchy require different levels of skill. And the other insight that we get is why so many organizational leaders invest in only the beginning or lowest level of skill training, because that investment has the greatest payoff because it applies to the greatest majority of workplace situations. So if 20% of the skills get us through 80% of the situations at work, what happens when stress, conflict, delivery pressure, and interpersonal tensions become part of the situation? When we move from the everyday to levels of much greater stress, conflict, delivery pressure, and interpersonal tensions? Well, the people in these situations need to use skills and skill levels that go beyond the everyday. And this is true for all skills, technical or hard as well as soft, but it's very much true for soft skills. We know now from decades of research that delivery or productivity at the higher levels of an organization are a direct function of that person's people interaction skill level. So managers, project managers, and executives work in everyday situations where conflict, stress, delivery pressure, and interpersonal tensions are the norm. Clearly, they need greater than everyday levels of skills, particularly, as I mentioned before, on the people interaction side. But that's not the only situation in the workplace where greater than everyday skills are called for, particularly in situations which involve deceit or concern for security. That's often the case for people who work in law enforcement, who conduct audit or even forensic audits, who do various kinds of security work, both the prevention and investigation of breaches, individuals who do investigative journalism, or individuals who are involved in delivering therapeutic interventions, either one-on-one or in the case of organizational consultants to a whole organization. All of these individuals need more skill than the everyday. And therefore, the training programs that allow them to acquire those skills must incorporate what law enforcement and military trainers call training at the speed of life. And that means that the training programs must, as a normal part of them, include stress, conflict, delivery pressure, and interpersonal tension, so that as the individuals acquire these skills in these training programs, they also acquire the ability to deal with these elevated levels of stress, conflict, delivery pressure, and interpersonal tension back on the job. And such conditions are created in role-play simulations and exercises that are done under conditions of stress. We all are, to some extent, aware of this because we've all seen movies which stress the kinds of training that elite military individuals go through. And that's exactly the same kind of training, at least in concept, that people who move to the higher levels of an organization require. These training programs also need to incorporate guided practice, partly to control the stress and the impact of that stress during the training program on the individual, but also to provide the constant direct personal feedback that's necessary for individuals to develop skills under these stress conditions. And there's some very clear implications, therefore, of the 80-20 model of skill utilization for individuals, for organizational leaders who invest in training, and for creators of training programs. If you are an individual and you desire a career that moves you beyond the workplace every day, you have to invest in enhanced skill levels, particularly if you want to become an effective manager, because you must acquire soft skills that go beyond the everyday. In order to do that, you have to seek out training programs that stand out from the norm. They're not just training programs which give you a little bit of additional skill, but ones which actually include components which help you acquire the skills that you need. It's training which occurs at the speed of workplace life. And many training programs don't incorporate these elements. If you're an organizational leader who's making investments in training for staff members, you have to accept the fact that managers require soft skill training that moves their soft skill capability far beyond the everyday. Manager training programs that are effective, that lead to effective behavior change on the job, simulate the stress, the conflict, the delivery pressure, and the interpersonal tension that is the norm in management life. They're training programs which are explicitly designed to incorporate the speed of managerial life. And if you're a soft skill training program creator, you need to take this 80-20 reality about soft skill utilization into account as you design, create, and deliver your training programs. One very effective way of doing that is to create e-learning programs which give people the base concepts, ideas, and facts that they need. And to support those e-learning programs, we'll follow up face-to-face sessions which have the role-play simulations and exercises which develop the participants' smart habits so they can transfer these skills back to the workplace. And finally, for advanced levels of soft skill, you have to accept that supervised training, practice, and coaching may be the most appropriate training route.